jokes about how we'll get sleep when we're dead. We promise ourselves that it will probably get better after the next deadline, the next month, the next event, or the next season, but it's not getting better. The question is, are we tired enough to change our minds? Tired enough to change our lives? Tired enough to ask honest questions about how we got here and how we get out of this cycle of exhaustion? We inherited this exhaustion. I come from an incredible line of women, though there's one part of our heritage that I could have done without. We're not sleepers. I thought I'd escaped the curse because in my teens and early 20s, I could fall asleep anywhere. Honestly, I can still fall asleep anywhere, but stay asleep? That's an elusive pipe dream, a miraculous ship that sailed swiftly away from me right around the time I had my last kid. I grew up knowing my mom didn't sleep. I'd see her bedroom light on in the middle of the night or notice the telltale signs in the morning, a mug, a book, a scribbled-in journal, all haphazardly placed near a chair after she'd crawled out of bed in the wee hours. She never complained. She wouldn't even say she didn't sleep well. We just knew that she'd been up for hours. So when the sleeplessness started for me, I accepted it and set out to redeem the time. I'd pray quietly in bed, grateful that at least my body was getting rest. I'd scroll on my phone, make lists, or shop online, putting things that I'd never buy in a cart on an app, but thinking, a girl can dream. If I can't actually dream, I can dream shop. On the worst days, when sleep wouldn't come, I'd try to slip out of bed without waking up my husband, gently tug my favorite blanket from beneath the sheets, and head to the living room to start the day. I'd do just as my mother had done, read the Bible, journal, and eventually pull out my laptop and start working. I didn't complain, or at least I tried hard not to, as the family began waking up at reasonable times. This was my birthright. This was just the way it was. But everything shifted one spring when I was 37 years old, and the occasional night of sleeplessness turned into long, agonizing stretches of insomnia. Honestly, it would have been a different story if it had just been insomnia. But instead, it was insomnia caused by anxiety. Rolling panic attacks that would start when I lay down to sleep and wouldn't subside until the sun came up. For me, it would start with one unfinished task, or an errant thought about something I hadn't done well. Then, that little ember would catch flame in my mind, growing and throwing out other embers of ideas, tasks for the next day, unsolvable problems, deep spiritual questions, and a gnawing sense of dread about how dependent other people were on me. If you've struggled with sleeplessness, you know the fire that rages when the clock changes and you imagine the entire next day on 4 hours of sleep, on 3, okay, on just 2. I'd lie there trying to take deep breaths, desperately attempting to douse my anxious thoughts with prayers, until it felt like my entire body was burning with fear. But all the while, I would know in my gut exhaustion had burned through the physical part of my being and was now smoldering in my spirit, mind, and emotions. I was also learning that my spiritual problems had a way of becoming physical problems when left unattended. My unseen fatigue was becoming visible and unavoidable. I can't say that season came out of nowhere because I've chased down the root cause and I'll share it with you soon. But I can tell you that one stormy night turned into 2 tough nights that rolled into a cluster of weeks and months when I barely recognized myself. I was honestly relieved when morning hit. It meant that the worst of it was over. But I'd have to somehow make it through the blurry, teary day praying that no one would ask me how I was doing. Because I was so tired. And I was tired not only because I hadn't slept. This fatigue was now rooted in every facet of my being, my soul, my mind, my heart, and my body. That's the problem with exhaustion. It always wants more. It permeates every facet of our life until we address the source of our